Right now, light is embarking on a few tenths of a second journey that looks astonishingly similar to an international tourist trying to reach a remote island. To get to your brain, light undergoes a 5-step journey. Think of it like taking flights, clearing customs, and catching a bus, a ferry, and a taxi to reach a hidden gem of the Aegean Sea. Flying inside the eye. Just like our international tourist flies over several countries to reach the airport closest to the island, the light passes through 4 transparent mediums to reach the retina. Firstly, the cornea. Of all transparent mediums of the eye, none has as high of a refractive index as the cornea, whose refractive index is close to the one of the water. Because of this, most people, except the kids and adolescents of the Moken tribe in Thailand, cannot see underwater because the light rays do not converge on the retina. How they can see it is a story for later. Secondly, the anterior chamber, which is filled with a liquid called the aqueous humor, which is equivalent of a foot track for the cornea and our next tissue, the lens. Although it doesn't have the most powerful refractory power, it is the most important component of the eye because it can adjust its refractive index. In the accommodation process, the lens becomes flatter when viewing distant objects and more curved when viewing close objects. An extremely elastic lens alongside pupil adaptations is thought to help the children of the Moken tribe sing underwater, unlike their parents whose lenses lost elasticity and are supposed to not see clearly underwater. Lens opacification, also known as cataracts, are responsible for almost half the cases of blindness. Cataracts happen due to multiple causes. Some of them include UV radiation, smoking, genetics, alcohol, diabetes, and excessive use of medications such as corticosteroids. Finally, past the lens, the light travels to retina through the vitreous humor, which accounts for 80% of the volume of the eye. Blood and other debris are removed in order to have as few interferences as possible. If you think the most difficult part of the journey has ended, you'll change your mind in a short time. Now photons reach the customs check. The policeman, the photopigment inside the receptors. The policeman asks for the passport. What is the passport of the photon? Conversion of 11 cis retinal to all transretinal. Then, just like a policeman would signal to his colleagues that the tourist is safe, the pigment activates up to 100 transducing molecules. Next, the police announce to orderly citizens that the tourist doesn't pose a threat. This is represented by a transducing activating a phosphodiesterase, which, as the name suggests, converts cyclic GMP into GMP. The photoreceptors have calcium channels that are opened when cGMP is bind to them. So, when the cGMP is consumed by the phosphodiesterase, the channels are closed and the receptor becomes hyperpolarized, releasing less neurotransmitter. You may also wonder how 11 cis retinal is formed, as producing it from scratch instead of recycling would be unsustainable. This involves the retinoid cycle, which happens in the photoreceptors and in the pigment epithelium. Now the tourist passed the customs control. Our tourist takes a bus to the port. In the bus he can trigger different reactions from locals with different views about tourists. Some see the positive impact they bring on the economy, while others feel their comfort and privacy are invaded. The locals from the bus are represented in the visual system analogy by the bipolar cells on the retina. Some bipolar cells, called on-center bipolar cells, respond to the release of the neurotransmitter with a closure of the sodium channels leading to hyperpolarization, while the off-center bipolar cells have ligand-gated cation channels that open in the presence of neurotransmitter. The fourth step of light's journey happens again in the retina, where ganglion cells produce an all-or-nothing response instead of the gradient response in the receptors and the bipolar cells. This is responsible for noticing contrast, such as the light dot on a dark background or dark spot on a light background. However, at this level there is no binocular vision, and not even color, which are useful accessories, but not for all functions related to the eye. And this points out the final stage of our journey. Now the tourists can either go to the hotel, to the beach, or, if she or he is a history nerd, to some ancient ruins. Similarly, the axons of the ganglion cells may have different destinations. One of them is a region between the thalamus and the midbrain called pretectum, where the pupillary light reflex, the one responsible for reducing the size of the pupil in response to light, is coordinated. Others go to the superior colliculus to provide information necessary for coordination of the head and eye movements with respect to a visual target. But by far, the most important target is the visual cortex. Here is where binocular vision, color vision, and other elements of vision, such as position, shape, speed, and orientation of the object, are formed. While it is true that this model keeps the explanation of how images are formed quite straightforward, without asking the question such as light adaptation or how other neurons in the retina, such as horizontal cells and macron cells, influence vision. I hope this video made you curious to further explore the science behind how you perceive objects visually. My name is Mihai and you watched Studying at Uni.